Could be a team overseas who would love to snatch Caitlin Clark.
Basketball has been my whole life over the past year, and now feels like the right time to take a step back and reflect. My college career ended so fast that I barely had time to process it before I jumped straight into the WNBA, doing everything I could to push my team to the playoffs. But now it feels like something has to change. Caitlin Clark just made a huge announcement, and the basketball world is buzzing about it. She's packing her bags and heading to Europe, leaving the WNBA scrambling. Should we really be surprised?
From the sounds of this interview, it seems like she's probably going to make more money overseas in EuroLeague than she did.
Caitlin shook the league to its core, breaking attendance records and bringing in more fans than ever. But even with all her success, the league didn't give her the support she deserved, so Caitlin decided enough is enough. And she's moving on. Let me explain why this is such a big deal. Caitlin Clark, the face of the WNBA in 2012, has officially decided to leave the league. And she's not joining another team. She's heading overseas. When this news broke, it sent shockwaves across the internet after an incredible rookie season where she dominated the court game after game. It felt like she had the entire basketball world at her feet. But behind the scenes, things weren't as perfect as they seemed. The WNBA thrived on her success. But when it came to supporting her, they fell short. Caitlin faced intense physical defense throughout the season, and she didn't hold back in voicing her frustrations. She told reporters, "I feel like I'm getting hammered, and people are getting away with stuff they shouldn't." These weren't just tough plays. They were dangerous elbows, head shots, even eye pokes. And what did the refs do? Almost nothing. Fans and commentators were left wondering if fouls had been canceled for the season. It wasn't just the physical abuse either. Caitlin also dealt with racial harassment, as being a white player in a predominantly black league put her in an uncomfortable spotlight. Players and fans made racially charged comments, and the WNBA stayed silent. No statements, no investigations. Caitlin wasn't just fighting tough defense on the court. She was battling a toxic environment, and the league didn't seem to care. By the end of the season, Caitlin had had enough. Now she's headed to Europe, where her talent will likely be treated with the respect it deserves. The WNBA is left reeling without Caitlin. It's hard to see how they'll keep fans excited. Sure, players like Breanna Stewart and Al Wilson are great, but they haven't captured the same magic that Caitlin did this season. Meanwhile, there is another shocking news. A WNBA legend has been caught red-handed scheming against Caitlin Clark in the Rookie of the Year race-up. Until now, no one knew which seasoned player had gone out of their way to pay off a reporter to vote against Clark. But now there's concrete evidence, and it's about to be exposed.
Clark, almost unanimous, -1. Angel Reese received one first-place vote for Rookie of the Year.
What's even more surprising, this player might be someone you've been rooting for all season, thinking she was a true icon. While Caitlin was dominating the court, this legend was quietly fuming with jealousy. And now it turns out she may have been working behind the scenes to make sure Clark didn't get the recognition she deserved. To make things worse, there's even a voter out there supporting Angel Reese. It's possible someone cast votes for both MVP and Rookie of the Year with Reese in mind. Why? Because while this so-called icon took years to develop her game, Caitlin came in and stole the spotlight in just one season. And here's the kicker. On the very day Caitlin Clark signed her European deal, this legend was celebrating the biggest WNBA title of the year. Coincidence? Maybe not.
So we've got somebody out there who is casting votes for Angel Reese. I say somebody. I mean, I suppose it could have been one person who voted for Angel Reese for Rookie of the Year and another person who voted for Angel for MVP.
Let's be real. If any rookie deserved every single vote, it was Caitlin Clark. So what happened? Why didn't she get all the votes? Turns out Caitlin grabbed 66 out of 67 votes for Rookie of the Year. That's a near-perfect sweep. The votes came from 43 national sports writers and 24 local journalists across various WNBA markets. So how did one rogue vote slip through? And more importantly, why this isn't just about someone trying to be different. That one vote felt like a sucker punch aimed directly at Caitlin Clark's near-perfect season, a deliberate move to make sure she didn't walk away with a spotless record. And here's where things start getting interesting. This wasn't just a random shout-out out for Angel Reese. This was someone trying to sabotage Caitlin's Rookie of the Year sweep. But who was behind it? No, it wasn't Cheryl Swoops. She doesn't even have the power to vote in this competition. The truth, that rogue vote came from journalist Cameron Duncan, and it sent shockwaves through the WNBA community, why did Duncan vote for Reese? Sure, Reese had decent stats, but she wasn't even close to Caitlin's record-breaking season. So what was going on? Rumor has it this wasn't Duncan acting on his own. WNBA superstar A.A. Wilson allegedly had something to do with it. That's right, the same A.A. Wilson who's been racking up trophies like nobody's business. But why would a player of her caliber get involved in something as petty as a Rookie of the Year vote? Here's where things take a wild turn in 2024. Wilson made history by becoming the first player since Cynthia Cooper in 1997 to win the MVP award unanimously. All 67 votes went to her, making her the only player in modern WNBA history to pull off a unanimous MVP win. That's a huge deal now. When Caitlin started stacking up Rookie of the Year votes, Wilson allegedly stepped in. She didn't want Caitlin to accomplish something she never did, a unanimous Rookie of the Year, when this wasn't just about competition. It was about legacy. Wilson wanted to make sure Caitlin didn't steal the spotlight, and that's where Duncan came into play. His vote for Reese wasn't a random act. It was part of a bigger plan. Wilson's move was all about protecting her legacy, not because Reese was more deserving. Let's face it, she wasn't, but to block Caitlin from getting that perfect unanimous Rookie of the Year title. It was a power play, plain and simple. As for Angel Reese, she was caught in the middle. Her name used as a distraction. Her stats were good, but nowhere near Rookie of the Year material. Reese got some unearned attention. Duncan took the backlash, and Wilson, she got to sit back and pretend she had nothing to do with it. But here's the kicker: people are connecting the dots now. Wilson's little scheme is unraveling, and everyone in the league is watching. The drama didn't stop there, though. Critics like Molly even chimed in, claiming Caitlin wasn't talented enough to call out a really Molly. Caitlin drops nearly 20 points a game, but now she's suddenly not good enough to speak up. This whole situation wasn't just about Caitlin missing a unanimous vote. It was a message: A.A. Wilson is still the queen, and anyone trying to challenge her, well, they're going to learn quickly who's really running the show. Caitlin's Rookie of the Year win may have a blemish, but that one vote exposed some serious ES League politics, and egos. Fans are outraged, and the WNBA's credibility just took a massive hit. What else is going on behind the scenes? One thing's for sure, the drama isn't over yet. What makes this whole situation even worse is the WNBA's complete lack of response. No official statements, no investigations, just silence. It's like they're hoping the whole thing will blow over and people will forget. But the fans won't forget, and neither will Caitlin Clark. When a unanimous Rookie of the Year win is stolen right in front of everyone, it's not just Caitlin who loses, it's the whole sport that suffers. For A.A. Wilson, while she may have managed to protect her unanimous MVP record, her reputation might not make it through this unscathed. If the full truth ever comes out, you might have thought A.A. was just being competitive, right? She's been through the struggles, fought her way to the top, and knows what it's like to work for recognition. But this isn't just about competition or rivalry. There's something much uglier at play here: racism. Caitlin wasn't up against tough defense on the court. She was fighting an environment that didn't treat her fairly, in the WNBA, by staying silent, is allowing this toxicity to grow. If we want to see real change, it's going to take more than just ignoring the problem. If you think this is something worth talking about, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications.
Angry racist before Caitlin Clark even got in, and I thought this was interesting yesterday. Sue Bird addressed that and her racist tweets prior to Caitlin Clark.
What started as a simple debate over a single Rookie of the Year vote quickly spiraled into something much darker when allegations of racial bias began surfacing. This wasn't just some random Twitter drama. Either people started digging deeper, questioning if this one vote was a sign of a bigger issue lurking in the WNBA, an issue where race isn't openly talked about, but still shapes who gets the spotlight and who's pushed aside. Now, you might be thinking, isn't this a bit of a stretch? It's just one vote, but when you take a closer look, it's hard to ignore the patterns. Caitlin Clark had the stats to back up her win: 19, 2 points, 8, 4 assists, and 5, 7 rebounds per game. She wasn't just good, she was the best rookie by far. Yet somehow one journalist decided to give their vote to Angel Reese. Instead, it raises a lot of questions. Was this really just about one person's opinion? Or is there something more going on behind the scenes? The WNBA, a league that prides itself on progress, seems to be avoiding these tough conversations. And that's where things get complicated. This isn't just about competition anymore. It's about who gets to shine and who doesn't. The fact that race might have influenced something as important as Rookie of the Year is a serious issue that can't be ignored. Caitlin Clark deserved that unanimous win, but instead she's caught in a web of league politics and bias. And when a player like Clark is denied her rightful place in the spotlight, it's not just a loss for her, it's a loss for the entire sport.
Like Caitlin Clark was averaging 5 points a game. At the time, she was still averaging 16 points a game, which was more than a lot of other guards that made the team. So don't do that. Don't make it seem like she was averaging 5 points and this was like a handout.
No, it wasn't a handout.
Look at her numbers. Look at her numbers comparable to the other guards that were on the team.
While everyone was busy blaming Duncan for her strange voting decision, the real question got overlooked. Did Duncan act alone? The answer, if you've been paying attention, is a pretty clear no. This wasn't just about Duncan's personal opinion on rookies. There's something bigger happening behind the scenes, and it's being pushed by people with far more influence. Wilson isn't new to stirring the pot when it comes to race back in 2020. When rookie Sabrina Ionescu, another white player, started getting tons of attention, Wilson made a comment that had everyone talking. She didn't name names, but her message was loud and clear. The league seems to favor certain darlings, and those darlings often aren't players like her. Fast forward to now, and it's Caitlin Clark who's in the spotlight. So what does Wilson do if the rumors are true? She works behind the scenes to make sure that Clark doesn't get a unanimous Rookie of the Year. When the wild part, Wilson didn't even have to speak up publicly this time. The influence was there, and it did its job. Clark's perfect rookie season was blemished by that one vote. But here's the kicker. This whole situation is about way more than just one vote. Clark's unanimous snub is only scratching the surface. The real story is about how race, power, and politics are shaping who gets to be the face of the WNBA. Caitlin didn't just lose a vote. She got a front row seat to how the system is rigged against her, even before she stepped onto the court and until players like Carrington and Wilson are called out for using their influence to play these games. This progressive league will keep running on the same old rules, and players like Clark will keep paying the price. If you want to stay on top of these stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and be part of the conversation. Let's dig deeper and demand better for the game we love. Caitlin shook the league to its core, breaking attendance records and bringing in more fans than ever. But even with all her success, the league didn't give her the support she deserved, so Caitlin decided enough is enough. And she's moving on. Let me explain why this is such a big deal. Caitlin Clark, the face of the WNBA in 2012-4, has officially decided to leave the league, and she's not joining another team. She's heading overseas. When this news broke, it sent shockwaves across the internet. After an incredible rookie season where she dominated the court game after game, it felt like she had the entire basketball world at her feet. But behind the scenes, things weren't as perfect as they seemed. The WNBA thrived on her success, but when it came to supporting her, they fell short. Caitlin faced intense physical defense throughout the season, and she didn't hold back in voicing her frustrations. She told reporters, "I feel like I'm getting hammered, and people are getting away with stuff they shouldn't." These weren't just tough plays, they were dangerous elbows, head shots, even eye pokes. And what did the refs do? Almost nothing. Fans and commentators were left wondering if fouls had been canceled for the season. It wasn't just the physical abuse either. Caitlin also dealt with racial harassment, as being a white player in a predominantly black league put her in an uncomfortable spotlight. Players and fans made racially charged comments, and the WNBA stayed silent. No statements, no investigations. Caitlin wasn't just fighting tough defense on the court, she was battling a toxic environment, and the league didn't seem to care. By the end of the season, Caitlin had had enough. Now she's headed to Europe, where her talent will likely be treated with the respect it deserves. The WNBA is left reeling without Caitlin. It's hard to see how they'll keep fans excited. Sure, players like Breanna Stewart and Wilson are great, but they haven't captured the same magic that Caitlin did this season. Meanwhile, there is another shocking news. A WNBA legend has been caught red-handed scheming against Caitlin Clark in the Rookie of the Year race-up. Until now, no one knew which seasoned player had gone out of their way to pay off a reporter to vote against Clark. But now there's concrete evidence, and it's about to be exposed.